Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Everything Drug and Alcohol here on my YouTube channel. I hope that you enjoyed the upcoming episode. Just make sure you like, subscribe, and make sure you comment and share so that the station can continue to grow and that we can get more information out to the industry regarding any and everything related to drug and alcohol. So enjoy, and I will see you soon. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. And you don't know what just went on behind the scenes, but I actually recorded this and then I had to stop and re-record it. And now we're going to try to make sure this works and everything is going to be great. And you missed my pre-recording because I was telling you all about how I made up this bed while I'm here in San Antonio, having a great time here traveling and just looking forward to a great episode with Ms. Erin Baird here. As you see her, she's from SureHire, Inc. And Erin Baird is the manager for sales and marketing. And we're going to be talking about some reasonable suspicion stuff and her company and things that are great over there. And I had a chance to interact with you and Elaine, right?
Yeah.
Elaine in Hershey, Pennsylvania at the Endesa conference. So we'll talk about that as well. There were some activities that I did that I really, really would love for us to discuss about your company and actually what excited me about having you guys here to talk about some of the things that you're doing. And one of the activities that I had the opportunity to participate in as I was walking around. And just to let you know, you're the only activity that I participated in while I was walking around. And I thought it was really cool. So we're going to show the video from that and explain what that is. So I don't want to share too much about that right now, but we'll get into that. So welcome, Erin.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Great. And you are in the lovely
I'm in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
Edmonton.
Yeah.
I was about to say, because the way I had to pull it up on the time zone, that it was I was looking at your area code and I was like, okay, are you in Edmonton or are you in is it Alberta? Is
Yep,
it
Edmonton, Alberta.
okay? Yeah, I had to pull up say, is that the same or whatever? So what's the weather like there?
It's actually not bad. A little bit rainy today, but it's been quite warm for us here. We're in Celsius, so 25 Celsius.
So Alberta is is that up near Vancouver area? Is that up Seattle way?
Yeah,
Like,
it's the next province over, so not too far.
okay, got it, got it.
Hmm.
Never been there. I've been to Vancouver. I've never been
Yeah,
to Edmonton.
Vancouver's really nice if you like the
You
mountains.
got a good hockey team.
Yeah, so close. Don't remind us, it's a sore spot this morning.
Is it? What's going
Yeah,
on? What's
Edmonton
going
was
on
in
with
the
hockey?
Stanley Cup Finals, Game 7 last night, and they lost, unfortunately, to Florida.
I I was traveling. I did not know. I knew stuff was going on, but I didn't put two and two together. So
Yeah,
we'll have a moment of silence for.
yeah, exactly.
All right. So share with us about SureHire. What actually is SureHire?
For sure. So SureHire is an occupational health testing company. That's how we started in Leduc, Alberta, actually. Our president and CEO was a physiotherapist by trade, and he actually noticed a lot of WCB claims or workers' claims coming into his physio clinic because they'd gotten hurt on the job, and he investigated a little bit more and determined that likely these individuals probably shouldn't have been hired in the first place. Either they didn't have the necessary strength and conditioning to actually complete the role that they were hired on for, so they were getting injured, or they just had pre-existing conditions that were being aggravated. So that's kind of where we started. Following that, we started to add drug and alcohol testing, occupational services like audiometric, mask fit testing, lung health, and then really started into more recently the training route. So getting into customer collection training for collectors and TPAs, because we noticed that there wasn't really an all-encompassing online system that allowed you to get that full training as if you were in person with that convenience of being online, being able to track certifications with our certification tracking and things like that. And then with reasonable suspicion training with, in Canada anyways, the legalization of cannabis. I know there's certain states in the US as well. Employers were struggling with how do I identify individuals that could be under the influence of cannabis or other substances, and how do we mitigate those risks of having an incident? So that's kind of where we started and where we're kind of focusing on right now.
Okay. And how long have you been with SureHire?
I've been with SureHire for just had my 12-year anniversary a couple weeks ago. So it's been a while, moved through various different roles, now at the director level. So I get to really be a part of that strategic planning and where do we want to take this company and how can we impact positively the most people. So.
And it's funny because we see these names throughout the industry, right? Like SureHire and of these other names, but we never get to actually see who's behind these companies and who does what. So, first of all, thanks for taking the time out to come on, so that people can actually put faces with company names now. So I know that we're going to go through some things. We met at the Indasa conference. So how did you guys get involved with Indasa?
So yeah, we've been Daisha when it was just Daisha. We were members for quite some time, and within the last couple of years, we've really wanted to push and move into the US market. So we thought Indasa would be a good one. They're kind of merged back together. We've heard really great things. We've been a couple times in the past, not myself personally, but yeah, we decided this would be a really great opportunity, have a booth, kind of show what we're all about, have some fun interactive activities like you mentioned. So Elaine and I went down there and we thought it was a great time. We met a lot of good connections, learned a lot from the speakers. So overall, it was a great trip.
Oh, that's great. And what else better place than Hershey, right? All the chocolate and
Yeah, it's true. Like we got off the plane, everything smells like chocolate in the hotel. It's like Hershey's Kisses on the wallpaper, the bedspread, the lotions were chocolate infused. So yeah, it was great.
yeah, and people kept stopping me because they said I reminded them of the Reese guy, the Reese
Oh,
cup.
that's funny.
Taking pictures with everybody.
Yeah, you're famous.
Um, I know. So let's go and pull up some. We have some interesting talking points that we want to touch on. So I'm gonna let you take it from here, and then we're going to
Sure.
kind of go through some of the talking points because I think it's interesting because of bordering between North America and Canada that a lot of businesses are crossing borders one side to the other, and it's kind of important to understand the differences when you do cross over into Canada, that rules are different, things are slightly different, and if you're interacting with people as employees that are residing in Canada versus different um, requirements that you guys have that we don't have. So it's always interesting to talk to different countries, especially when they cross each other when it comes to safety sensitive stuff. So
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And we have a lot of clients that work in Canada as well as the US, so they do have to kind of navigate those different state laws and things like that. And then when it comes to oral fluid testing, that's something new in the US, obviously with DOT, but we've been doing it in Canada for non-DOT for quite a while. So we do have that kind of experience and knowledge that we can pass on to companies that are interested in oral fluid and things like that. So yeah, I can share my screen and kind of go through a couple of slides here. Perfect. And you can see this all right?
yep, I can.
Okay. Let me go to the next one. All right, so I already kind of touched on SureHire, who we are as a company. Our core purpose is to build those foundations for safe, healthy, productive workforces and communities. So that's really our goal, is just to be that support for our clients, provide that exceptional customer service, and really leverage that technology so that we can enhance that client experience and just make sure that individuals are working on the work site, they're safe, they're healthy, and they can be productive.
And as she's moving forward, you'll see down at the bottom down there, the website is www.surehire.com. And I'll actually put that in the description box on the actual website for you guys to be able to link and ask her any questions moving forward from here.
Perfect. Thank you. And in terms of myself, I did a bit of an introduction. So my name's Erin Baird. I'm the Director of Client Relations at SureHire. Been with the company for just over 12 years. So I've had a lot of experience working with various different companies in industries like oil and gas, construction, transportation. So really those highly safety sensitive industries where they would obviously want to make sure that they're mitigating the risks of individuals that could be under the influence of drugs and alcohol, as well as could have more strenuous job positions. So that's where kind of the physical, medical, fitness to work testing comes to play. And I've had the opportunity to attend various conferences, like you mentioned, in DASA. There's other ones here in Canada that we've gone to, have been able to speak. And then I actually personally facilitate a lot of the reasonable suspicion training sessions. So whether we have open sessions where it's just participants from all different companies joining, or we actually can also do company specific. So if a company comes to us, I have, 15 supervisors. I really want to give them the tools and training and education to be able to identify signs and symptoms of possible drug or alcohol use. We can facilitate those company specific sessions as well. So I've had the opportunity to complete a few of those, which has been great because every time you present or you work with another organization, you learn something new, you find out what trickies they're going through, what they've done to kind of mitigate that. And so it's a really great learning opportunity for us.
So Aaron, before you move forward, so what has been a scenario for you that has been the trickiest,
In
and
terms of
in
the
what
reasonable
industry?
suspicion,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so we have a lot of questions again around cannabis use, especially within Canada. Recreational use is legalized, so companies are finding it really tricky to mitigate, those risks of individuals potentially being under the influence, causing incidents and accidents, while also balancing that human rights aspect where it is a legal substance that they can use on their own time, but how do you make sure that that's not trickling into the workplace? So again, that's where the reasonable suspicion training does come in, since we don't have an accurate testing method for detecting current impairment. Companies really have to be really well versed and provide that education and training so they can build that safety culture with not just their supervisors, but their employees as well.
Yeah, and I guess it's also difficult as I travel as well, navigating. So I know in the US we have the states, right? And then you have the state versus federal. So how does that work in Canada? Is it one province, or do you guys have separation like we do between state and federal?
So for us, it's pretty much across the board for Canada, so it makes it a little bit easier. There might have different requirements in terms of usage. So the legal age for Alberta for somebody to use alcohol or cannabis is 18, but in BC it might be 19, some things along those lines. But in terms of the testing or what is considered legal versus not legal for cannabis specifically, it's kind of across the board. It's more united that way than in the US, where every different state has different legislation in terms of what you can and cannot test for.
Okay. And I guess that becomes interesting when you have to navigate explaining that to your Canadians when they come over to America, that things are kind of different here. If they're listening to the wrong individual, let's say they're listening to somebody who's giving them state information versus federal information, and they are going to perform federal safety sensitive functions, could find themselves in a great pickle for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do work with, I'll give a shout out to Currents Consulting. They're pretty big down there in the US in terms of state laws. So we work with them quite a bit because we don't, know everything. We want to make sure that we go to the experts so that we're providing the right information to our clients. So we utilize them and rely on them when it comes to the nitty gritty of all the legal compliance and
Yeah.
state laws and all of that stuff. So we want to make sure we're backed up.
Yeah.
with,
Good shout out to Current.
yeah.
All right. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. So I already kind of listed some services. So drug and alcohol, we do that fitness for duty or fitness to work testing, lung health, so mask fitting, respirator, um, health surveillance, things like that, as well as the employer and collector training. So we can offer those collectors or TPAs. They can do our online, like urine collector training, oral fluid training, breath alcohol, that kind of thing. So it's a really nice LMS system that's really user friendly, and they can navigate to the courses that they want. They can track their certificates and get that really great online course with the convenience of online as opposed to having to be in person kind of thing. And then just general overall TPA kind of support. And then this is kind of the meat and potatoes of why we wanted to have this meeting here, is to go through the importance of reasonable suspicion. So I think it really kind of intrigued you when you came to our booth in terms of, the activities that are part of the training. That's just one piece. So wanted to kind of touch on what's the importance of having the reasonable suspicion. So obviously it's a huge safety implication. If there's workers that are on a work site that's safety sensitive, that could be under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Obviously, impaired workers pose that significant risk. So there could be risk to themselves or others, property damage, incidents, accidents. You're working on large sites, could be injuries or even possible deaths. So we really want to make sure that we provide training to the supervisors that allows them to identify those signs and symptoms ahead of time before an accident occurs. So hopefully they can mitigate the risks of those accidents occurring, and obviously maintaining a safe workplace. So that's huge. Also productivity. So there's some substances that can obviously impair an employee's ability to perform effectively. They can be making performance errors, just their productivity goes down, that kind of thing. So again, those performance issues can be addressed more promptly if the supervisors have that level of training and knowledge and they know what steps to follow ahead of time. Also, there is that legal compliance side of things. So training for supervisors, again, to identify those signs of impairment, make sure that they're complying with their legal obligations and be able to mitigate the risks of any incidents. And then just overall employee well-being. So substance use disorders are, considered medical conditions. They do have an impact on an individual's health and well-being. So allowing for that early detection or recognition just allows them to get that timely intervention and the support that they need. Just some stats that I put together here from what we're kind of seeing. So when we took a look at just on average, a company that employs approximately 100 people, here's some of the things that you can see. Again, depends on the industry. We see different things in terms of, the demographic of the employees. But on average, 76 employees may consume alcohol. So that could be on a regular basis or just, once in a while, not too specific on the time frame there, but they might use alcohol. 26 employees might be consuming cannabis. Again, the frequency, we're not sure. 14 might be using opioids, and whether that be they're taking it appropriately or not. Maybe they're not taking their prescription medications as they should be. 5 might be using stimulants or other substances. So again, just wanting to show some of these numbers as they could have an impact on the work environment if these employees are coming to work, obviously under the influence. When
So
we look at, yeah, go
I
ahead.
have a question before you move on to
Sure.
that. Is Canada seeing the increase in fentanyl like the US?
We're not really, no. We do test for it. Some companies opt to test for it. It is optional depending on their company's drug and alcohol policy. It's not something that they have to test for. So some do, but nothing significant in terms of a trend for increased use that I'm seeing.
Gotcha.
Mhm. And then we did some stats for all of the testing that we complete and kind of broke it down by reason for testing. So we have seen an increase in positivity rates for reasonable suspicion drug testing. So in 2022, we saw about a 32% positivity rate, whereas in 2023, we actually saw a 52% positivity rate. So we are hoping that this is due to increased training where they're being able to identify those signs and symptoms more accurately that correlate with possible drug use. And they're sending them in, they're following the appropriate steps, sending them in for a drug test. And we're seeing those positivity rates as a reflection of that. And then just kind of some overall positivity rates. Cannabis is obviously the most popular substance. It stays in your system for a longer period of time. So it's not surprising that we're seeing that 64% of the time for those positive drug tests.
It's interesting about your stats is that do you ever sit and compare those stats to the overall stats of the US to see like how you guys are in comparison with the usage of certain drugs?
Yeah, I know I've been to a few webinars that have kind of highlighted the different statistics. I feel like it would be good to kind of do a deep dive in terms of the overall positivity rates by industry, kind of break it down by location to see if there's any kind of trends there, as well as the substances of use. That would be neat
Yeah,
to
because
see.
I noticed, that it was lacking like amphetamines and the cocaine and, those type of things that are rampant here in the
Mhm.
US that, stats against the Canada side, um, as the different drugs of choice,
Mhm.
you
For
know,
sure. Yeah. Cocaine is always our number two that we see. And it is surprising because it doesn't stay in your system very
right.
long. So, and a lot of the testing that we do is pre-employment or pre-access. So they have, a couple of days notice that they're coming in for their test and they're still
Right.
testing positive either on the breath alcohol sometimes or testing positive for cocaine. So they've known that they're coming in to get a job and they still test positive. So
Still positive. All right.
yeah, so moving on, just a quick kind of client testimonial that we received from one of our long-term clients, NPA. They're a company that we've worked with, safety sensitive, obviously. And some of the lagging indicators that they noticed before they implemented the reasonable suspicion was they did see an increase in positive drug test results. They were starting to see increases in employees that were requesting mental health support. And they noticed that it kind of went hand in hand with those employees that were requesting mental health support as well as, the ones that were testing positive on drug tests. They identified a need for supervisor training and tools. Supervisors had come to them to be like, you know what, how do we manage these situations? We need the training and tools to be able to navigate what to do in these certain situations. So what they did was implement reasonable suspicion training for their supervisors, and they're actually looking at doing it on an annual basis just to keep it top of mind, making sure that if there's any updates or any changes, they want to make sure that their supervisors are aware. So now they have the tools that they need to be able to follow the proper steps to hopefully reduce the number of accidents. And then just they've received really positive feedback in terms of the course delivery, what they've learned, and they hope to provide that to their employees as a whole as well, not just the supervisors, to provide that general awareness and provide that culture that, you know, the company cares about their employees. They want to make sure that their mental health is supported and things along those lines. So.
So it's interesting because Erin, I don't know if you run into these, but I have two top things that are like my pet peeves when it comes to reasonable suspicion and whatever, and it frustrates me to no end. And I would like, I'm sure once you get into we get into the core stuff or whatever, but um and your client testimony was right on point, is because the things that frustrates me is when I hear companies who do reasonable suspicion training just as a requirement, to check the block, here, watch this video, here, take this little quiz, and, here, complete this, and we check the block. But I honestly feel, in my opinion, that it's not doing justice to the industry when they do things like that, because what are you actually being educated on? And actually, are you understanding this?
Mhm.
And are you effectively able to evaluate someone, for, suspicion and cause? And the other one is, uh, you know, I've heard in situations where supervisors have pulled away from doing the reasonable suspicion or reasonable cause evaluation on, someone at their company because, how the statements go, oh, he's such a great guy, or they're just great workers and they're great for the company. And they tend to not, want to do that reasonable suspicion or reasonable cause testing on them for those sakes. And neither one of those scenarios are going to work out good for the
Mhm.
safety of the industry, nor for that company in the long run. So,
Exactly.
can you talk a little bit more about, as you get in? I know you're about to get into the course, but these importance of things that you guys actually do in your training to help them better become more equipped with being comfortable with making these evaluations, because in the US with the DOT agencies, and that when you submit a positive, test result from a reasonable suspicion, you're going to get an investigation from
Mhm.
one of these federal agencies to determine, did you, do this correctly? Did you do this evaluation correctly? So I just want to turn it over to you before we get into your course, so we can
Mhm.
touch into those things more.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, that's why we stress the training across the board for all supervisors, because a key part of that is the consistency, right? So if you did have an investigation, you want to make sure that it's consistent across the board. So what you do in one case, you do in every single case. That's how you kind of get around the individual saying that there was a bias against them, or the supervisor just doesn't like them, so they decided to go through this process. If you can show that 100% of the time you followed the exact same process, all the supervisors are trained with the exact same training, they have refresher training, they complete the same necessary documentation every time, that's going to really benefit you. Where it gets dicey is companies, yeah, they're doing it sometimes, they're not doing it others. They're, like just like you said, they have an employee is a really good employee. They're just enabling them. They don't want to do that investigation on them, but then they might do it on somebody else. So that's where that really leaves them open to some risk when it's not consistent across the board. So we really try to highlight that, especially in the in-person course. You can get a little bit more granular. You can look at the company-specific drug and alcohol policy, what they do in certain situations. They can ask specific questions. They can bring up specific scenarios applicable to them. So that's where the in-person course is a little bit more hands-on when it comes to that. But the online course is still great. It provides, an overall description of the dangers of workplace impairment caused by substance use and misuse. It does define the different components of a standard drug and alcohol policy and what some of the common testing methodology looks like, how to execute that 5-step reasonable suspicion process. So again, this is where that consistency comes in terms of making those observations that correlate with possible alcohol or drug use, having that confirmation. So asking another supervisor, so you're getting that second opinion. So it's not just the one individual making that determination. Documentation, which is key. Again, having a standardized template that everybody uses. Having those conversations and then completing that testing only when absolutely necessary. Explaining, what the symptoms of a substance use disorder could look like. And then again, recognizing those common indicators. When it comes to the in-person, again, it's all of those same things in the online. It's just a little bit more in depth. We'll also kind of establish what is a supervisor's roles and responsibilities. What does that look like? We'll have practice completing the actual documentation. So we have a template that we use, or if it's a company specific scenario and they might have specific paperwork, or actually practice with the scenario on how to complete that documentation properly and thoroughly. Get some hands-on experience with the drug impairment simulation goggles. So again, that just kind of simulates the effects of possible, substance use. What could that look like? Just to get them really hands-on on just an awareness of what some of these substances could look like and the implications if somebody's under the influence at work. And then it just allows for that instructor-led opportunity for questions and to be really more specific to the organization if it's a company-specific session. Yeah, and then I have your little screenshot of the video here. So,
All right.
stop.
So before we get into that, when we get into the reasonable suspicion, like I said, it's very paramount, right? I think that is highly important, and I think the more confidence a supervisor have, the more likely they're going to do the evaluation or come forth to say, hey, I believe that you're under XYZ, or this is my observation. And when you don't have effective training in anything, they're going to steer away from it because they're not confident enough. And I think that is the Achilles, is depending on the training that you have will give you the confidence versus just checking the block, right? Would you agree?
Exactly. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Um, so you had the little screenshot up. So what we're getting ready to do, everybody, Erin's going to show this video of me interacting with SureHire at the Endesa conference, and what is happening to me in the video, and what's going on, and how to incorporate this into your training in the future. Once you guys reach out to surehire.com and go out there and check them out. But I thought that this was very interesting, along with the incorporating these type of things into their reasonable suspicion training, which I just thought was, just very, great to do. So I'm gonna turn it back over to you, and you can explain what's happening to me.
Yeah, for sure. So we do use these drug and alcohol simulation goggles. So we have a variety of different ones that we use. I think there's more out there, but we have a couple of levels of alcohol. So with the alcohol ones, it's anywhere from like a 0.04 up to a 0.35 of intoxication. So really what the impairment goggles are trying to simulate is a reduced alertness, slowed reaction time, confusion. You could have visual distortion. It really alters your depth perception and distance perception, as well as your peripheral vision and that kind of thing. And also tries to simulate, lack of muscular coordination and that sort of thing. And then we have some other drug impairment ones, so cannabis, as well as we have more of the hallucinogen, so PCP, ecstasy one. That one's a little bit of a trip, no pun intended. It does impair your judgment, again, depth perception. It distorts the size and shape of objects as well as the perception of color. So it's really trying to just simulate what the effects could be if you're under the influence of those substances.
And I
So
did two, right? I did two different impairments.
yeah, exactly. So I think you had done them first. You did one first before we did the video. And then I think you did the same one again. So you kind of built up a tolerance, which does happen if you're actually under
I, I,
the
sw- I switched. I
influence.
think I did alcohol and then PCP because I think I did something else first, but PCP was the first time I think I did it on camera.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
And then
think that's what happened.
you
Okay.
tried another one. So okay,
All
let's
right.
see if we can pull up the video here.
All right. So this is going to be interesting, everybody, and Erin's going to explain to everybody like what is happening to me. And these is what you will be doing at the reasonable suspicion training, right? Like going through these different activities and
Yeah, exactly. So usually we have a bit of a breakout after we've kind of gone through the signs and symptoms of the various drugs and alcohol. It kind of gets them um, that hands-on experience. And then we do either like a Jenga, stacking the cups, walking in a straight line, that kind of thing. And we get them to just kind of explain how they felt. Do they feel they could work while wearing these, that kind of thing. So it's just a really good kind of hands-on. See if I can get it going here.
um
And going to be trying out the marijuana goggles, and then we're going to talk about my actions. And right now I'm sober. I don't drink or smoke, so I'm fully aware of everything. But I'm about to get gone.
Yeah, so these are the cannabis ones.
All
It
right.
kind of has
And
white
my
spots.
I'm supposed to stack these up 4 or 5.
Now, what is my goal here?
So you're trying to stack the cups in a pyramid. We made it extra tricky at the conference. Usually we have the red solo cups. This time we had the clear cups, so it was definitely more of a challenge to try to make that pyramid. So 4 on the bottom, 3, 2, and 1. And I think this is your second time doing the cannabis. So I think you had built up a little bit of a tolerance
The
to feel a little
tolerance.
bit better than the first time.
Yeah, because my first one was not like that.
No, it was all over the place.
The first one was not like that at all. And I was wondering why to opt to do the clear. And I said it had to be more challenging for the clear.
Oh yeah, the clear is much more challenging.
This one? Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna do the
Yeah, so these are like the hallucinogen goggles. This again really distorts your color, your vision, your depth perception, objects.
Okay, this is weird.
And this is the first time I've done the PCP goggles.
I would never want to be on TV.
All right.
So yeah, with those, it was hard to even find where the goggles were. I think depth perception is the biggest thing. So it's supposed to, again, simulate you're uncoordinated,
A
your vision's
big difference
blurry.
from the first one.
Yeah, it's a big difference for sure.
Big difference from the first one. And again, the clear didn't help either. So
No.
imagine trying to drive on a rainy day under or
Exactly. So even if you had perfect conditions, it's still going to be very difficult, let alone
right.
if you add in some of those weather elements or anything else along those lines.
This is embarrassing. This is
Yeah, it's good. We had a lineup at the booth. Everybody kind of wanted to give it a try. I think you think it's easier than it is, and once you actually put them on.
it's just interesting. So as we're looking at me do the PCP goggles, what are those other ones? What are the green ones and the other ones
Yeah,
that
so we have 3 levels of alcohol. The dark green is the lower level, so it's like that 0.04 to 0.06. So this is, maybe a couple beers. It's that lower level intoxication. So you still might be able to see a little bit better. You'd still have some distortion, peripheral vision maybe starting to go in coordination, a little bit of that depth perception. And then the other ones are like kind of a multi-drug, uh, and then the cannabis ones and the PCP. So there's 3 that are alcohol specific, just varying levels. And
so
the
which one
red ones there are really dark, so they're almost black. You almost can't even see through them
is that alcohol?
for alcohol. Yeah.
So what is the what would you say is the most challenging goggles up there that you have? Is it
I probably these ones that you're wearing, we find it's the most challenging. It kind of depends on the person. Sometimes they think, the cannabis ones are really hard, and others are like, this isn't too bad. So
I'm not done.
right?
gave up.
Yeah.
That was all. I mean, that's embarrassing, but the reality, the reality of these is like drugs are horrible. It's like
Yeah, and for some people who've never done it, they don't know what you can describe the signs and symptoms all you want, but until you actually experience that personally, you don't really know how it impacts you. So this kind of gives a really good simulation as best we can, into, some insight into what that would look like, so they really get that full understanding.
so. What was the funniest thing that you've seen people do that have you taken your course and put those goggles on? Where was the
Yeah,
funniest?
well, we actually have to caution some people if they're not good with virtual reality. Even the cannabis ones are geared towards producing that feeling of nausea. So we have to kind of, give them a little bit of a disclaimer. Like if you're not good with that, you could kind of feel sick. So we have had people being like, we haven't had anyone throw up, but some people be like, I can't wear these because they just feel nauseous, which is, could be a potential symptom as well. So typically it's just a lot of fun and we just have a lot of laughs, and some of the stacking of the cups or the Jenga games is really fun, or trying to walk in a straight line without falling over. So
I thought that was just awesome experience because I've probably been drunk before in my younger days or whatever, but drugs and things I just wearing goggles make me not even want to be on something, for real,
mhm.
like that you can't just, take the goggles off and it be done with, like I'm in it. So
Yeah,
which
exactly.
is
So it is a
horrible.
good kind of deterrent that way too, for somebody to not even want to experience that. Because even I'm sure the substances themselves are 10 times worse than what the goggles are.
So before we go, give everybody your information again and how they can reach you guys and you know uh, the services that you guys provide again.
Yeah, so they can reach out to us on the website, so surehire.com. I can also, include our phone number. It's 1-866-944-4473. So they can contact us that way, reach out to myself I'm on LinkedIn as well if there's any kind of questions. And yeah, it would be in regards to the reasonable suspicion training, collector training, if they want to get added to our network in terms of collection sites in Canada and the US, and then just employers if they want services like drug and alcohol, fitness testing, mask fit audio, anything like that.
All that good stuff. All right.
Mhm.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, Erin. I know that you're
Yeah, it's great.
busy and you're an hour behind me. So my day is going to end before yours.
Yeah.
And but I do thank you and tell you, Lane, I said hello, and you guys were
Yeah.
awesome meeting you guys at Endesa. Look forward to probably seeing you guys again in Dallas. Is it going to be in Dallas?
Yeah, for SAPA?
You going to
That
Sapling?
one, yeah, Dallas. We're not 100% yet, but I think would you recommend it?
Okay.
Another good one?
Yeah, I'm going. I'm
Yeah.
going. Going to SAPA. SAPA is a little more on the federal side. They incorporate, a lot of things, but I know a lot of feds go to SAPA, as well. So I would definitely be there and mingling around. So if you guys are there, I'll stop by and say hi to
Yeah.
you guys. But again, thank you so much for coming on, and I'll put all of your information in the description box. So would you like to be the last to leave the audience with something?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot. I think just if you're an employer, really try to, again, think about your employees. It is their well-being. And if you support them, that's going to be great for your organization. If you can show that, you're doing the training or the things that you're implementing is for the benefit of them, not just a rubber stamp because, you as the employer have to do it. If you can really showcase that and build that safety culture, then the employees are going to respect that. And I feel like they're really going to appreciate that. And you're going to have a better, happier, productive workforce.
All right. And again, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Everything Drug and Alcohol. And I look forward to seeing you at the next one. Until then, I will see you all later.
Thank you. See you.